The Kvorn Imperial fleet hung in high orbit above Earth, like a swarm of metallic locusts, their crystalline hulls refracting sunlight into prismatic displays that would have been beautiful if they weren't so terrifying. Admiral Cheat Thax watched the blue-green planet below through all four of his optical organs and chittered in satisfaction. After centuries of searching, they had finally found the primitive species that had unleashed the greatest embarrassment in Kvorn history. 300 years ago, a lone human vessel, barely more than a primitive chemical rocket, had stumbled upon a Kvorn scout ship in distress. Instead of destroying the vulnerable craft, as any sensible species would have done, the humans had rescued the crew, repaired their ship, and sent them on their way. The resulting scandal had nearly toppled the Imperial dynasty. The idea that a pre-FTL species would show mercy to the galaxy's most feared warrior race was unconscionable. Now, after generations of preparation, the Kvorn had returned with the largest fleet ever assembled to erase this shame. They would annihilate humanity and restore their reputation for ruthlessness. "My lord," his communications officer interrupted his reverie. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the planet's surface." Stax dismissed the warning with a wave of his primary manipulator. "Their primitive defenses are insignificant. Commence the attack." The first wave of Kvorn ships descended through the atmosphere, their weapons charging. But before they could fire, thousands of points of light erupted from Earth's surface. Stax watched in confusion as the lights resolved into human ships, rising to meet his fleet. Their design was unlike anything he had ever seen, seamlessly blending organic and mechanical components. Impossible. He chittered. They were pre-industrial just 3 centuries ago. A transmission cut through their command frequencies. The human voice spoke in perfect Imperial Kvorn. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. 300 years ago, we showed mercy to your people. In studying the technology of that rescued scout ship, we learned much. But more importantly, we learned of your existence and your nature." Stax's antenna trembled as he realized the terrible truth. The humans hadn't been primitive at all. They had used the rescue of that scout ship to study Kvorn technology, to prepare for this very moment. "We could have engineered your weapons, your shields," Admiral Chen continued. "Instead, we chose a different path. We merged technology with biology, creating ships that live and grow. While you spent 3 centuries nursing your wounded pride, we evolved. The human vessels moved with impossible grace, their organic hulls rippling and adapting to each Kvorn attack. Weapons that should have torn through shields were absorbed and redirected. The pride of the Imperial fleet was being dismantled by ships that seemed to predict their every move. "My lord," his tactical officer's voice quavered, "their ships are learning. Each engagement makes them stronger." Stax watched in horror as his carefully planned assault crumbled. The human ships didn't just fight, they adapted, evolved, became more efficient with each passing moment. This wasn't just superior technology, this was something entirely new. "You came here expecting to find a primitive race, worthy only of extinction." Admiral Chen's voice carried a hint of sadness. "Instead, you found what your ancestors encountered 3 centuries ago, humanity's true strength. We are not defined by our weapons or our ships, but by our capacity for both mercy and innovation." The human fleet had surrounded them now, their biomechanical ships pulsing with energy. Stax knew he had led his people into a trap 3 centuries in the making. "We will spare your fleet," Admiral Chen declared, "just as we spared your ancestors. Return to your empire with this message: humanity remembers both kindness and threats. We repay both in equal measure." As the Kvorn fleet retreated in disarray, the story spread across the galaxy. The humans hadn't just defeated the mighty Kvorn, they had done so while showing the same mercy that had once brought them such shame. It was a demonstration not just of power, but of a steadfast adherence to principles that the older races had long forgotten. In the decades that followed, the galaxy learned a new kind of fear, not of humanity's weapons or their strange bioships, but of their unwavering dedication to being exactly who they were, whether showing mercy to a damaged scout ship or defending their world against an empire. They were a species that could have chosen vengeance, but opted for justice, could have embraced destruction, but chose preservation. And that, more than any weapon, made the galaxy tremble.